Welcome to this Youth Gone Wild guitar lesson. Today we're going to be learning how to play Skid Row on the guitar. First off, we're in standard tuning, so you don't have to touch anything. And another thing that I wanted to make note of before we get going is that essentially Snake Sabo and Scotty Hill were doubling each other. They're basically playing the same riffs along with each other, but there are some minor differences throughout the track here and there. So I'll touch on those differences when appropriate. And the couple of performance sections that there are in the video, I'm going to be basing that off of Snake Sabo's part, which is heard, I believe, in the right channel. So we've got the tabs for everything. Here we go. The intro to Youth Gone Wild is actually the chorus riff. So once we went through this intro, we'll also know how to play the chorus. But the first thing that you hear is a B flat power chord. So first fret power chord off of the A string. And then the third frets on the D and the G. Okay. But the only thing to note there, make sure your first finger is muting off all those other strings so that you can actually strum through all six. And you can get that nice big sound that they have on the album. So it's just an up, down, do that twice. And then we get into the riff. And now Snake Sabo in the right channel starts with this big G power chord. Okay, so it's really just a G chord, but lift your first finger and then make sure that that second finger is lightly laying over top of the A string to deaden it. Okay, and then you can strum through all six strings. And then we get into this really cool sliding dyad thing. So we're gonna slide up to the barred 5th fret on the D and G strings. Come to the 3rd frets on the D and the G strings. And then open D and G. Okay, and that gives you time to shift. We wanna get the 3rd fret on the D and the 2nd fret on the G. Then by rotating that first knuckle, lay that second finger down and bar the 3rd frets again. And then Sabo goes back to his big G power chord. Okay, and then we can repeat that. That's all the same, but this time we go to an E flat power chord, 1st fret of the D string. Okay, and then when you go to that E flat, the thing to note there is that there's a little space. So get that nice and tight. Okay, and then you go to that E flat twice. And then the 4th time we start that riff, so slide to the 5 and the 3. And then you're gonna, on Sabo's channel, there's a couple of dead chucks there. And I do it on the D string. And then hit your E flat chord, 1st fret of your E flat power chord, 1st fret of the D string. And pull off 2 palm muted A's, and then move that down a string set to the B flat, 1st fret of A, and pull off, and then one more A palm mute, and you're going to use an upstroke on that big G power chord again. Okay, one thing to note about that little E flat and B flat pull off thing is that it's okay if you get both strings to ring briefly with a pull off, but you don't really have to be too concerned with getting both of those to have a nice strong pull off. Just pull off and you're naturally going to make it sound like the song. It's mostly the first finger that you want to hear, right? But just play through it a few times and it's kind of just naturally falls into place. So Sabo's part. Now Scotty Hill in the left-hand channel does the exact same thing, except he's just not playing those big G power chords. He starts off just with the middle 2 strings, the D and the G. And then other than that, it's the same. He just never plays that. So he starts off and just back to those 2 strings instead of playing that big G. It just plays those 2 middle strings. So that's probably the slightly easier part to play, that you don't have to get that big G nice and smooth. But there is a difference, and if you listen really closely, you can hear those differences in the left and the right hand channel. So that is the chorus riff, and then that's 4 measures, and it just repeats twice for that intro. So I'll just play it nice and slow one time through here, and then we can move on to the verse. Moving on to our verse, it sounds like this. The verse utilizes dynamics to really stand out, and we're going to accomplish that by manipulating the volume pot. So we come out of our intro chorus, and then roll the volume pot a bit down just to clean things up a bit, and then we're going to get into our verse. So the verse, I start off by doing 2 dead chucks, and I grab the D and the G string. So just lightly lay the fret hand down over the strings and get it down up on the D and the G just to get that dead chuck sound. And then we have 2 dyads here. So we have this same F dyad that we had in the chorus riff. So the 3rd fret on the D and the 2nd fret on the G. Moving up to the 5th fret on D and 3rd fret on G. So that comes in on beats 3 and 4. 3 and a 4. Okay, and then we're going to repeat that. But we're going to go to an E flat the 2nd time. So it's those 2 dead chucks, the 3rd and 2nd on the D and the G, and then go down to the 1st on D, 3rd on G. So that E flat power chord. And then we just have to repeat that. Okay, and there's our verse. And then we're going to get out of that and get into our pre-chorus by rolling up the volume and doing a quick little run here. So here's the verse nice and slow. Now roll up your volume pot and okay, so that run is the 1st fret on D, snap off to open, come down to the 3rd fret on A, back up to an open D, back to 3 on A, 1 on A, snap off to open, and then F power chord on the bottom string. And that's 3E and a 4E and a. Okay, and then that's tied over to the bar line, and we come in on beat 2 again. Okay, so starting on beat 2, we just have 2 measures of basically chugging on F and accenting beats 2 and 4. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Okay, so to transition into our next little part, get beat 4 on F, and then just whack the strings, get some dead strings in there, and then I snag the 4 bottom strings. I fret the G with my 2nd finger on the bottom string and just snag those 4 bottom strings. And then, okay, to do that, we go bar the 3rd frets on the D and G and snap them off to open, and do that twice. come down to the 3rd frets on the D and the G, the A and the D, and then the 5th frets on the A and the D. And you want to really shake those. And then 2 more dead chucks here. Moving up to the 5th frets on the D and the G, and shake those too. Okay, and then we have this, and here the guitars do something different too in the left and the right. Sabo in the right hand channel does pinch harmonics for all these notes, and he goes 5th fret on A, 3rd fret on A, down to 6 and 5 on the low string. Okay, and Scotty Hill in the left channel does the same notes, but I think he's just going down the A string. And he doesn't put any pinch harmonics on them, but he's going 5, 3, 1, open. It's the same notes as what Snake was doing, but he's not doing a pinch harmonic and he's just staying on 1 string. Okay, so. And now we're going to go back to that F. Okay, and we do the same timing. So it's just 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and so that to get into that next chord, it's that 4 and same as we did getting into that G, but we're going to jump all the way up to the power chord on the 6th fret of the A string, so a D sharp. And hold that for 3 beats, and then we want to hit that again on beat 4. Okay, so we hit that on 4, and then we move down a half a step to the 5th fret D on the A string, just moving that power chord down 1/2 step, and we go 1 and 2 and now we just hit the note on the 6th fret on A there, and then pull off between 6, 5, come down to 6 on the low E string, and then open D and G, because that'll get us into our chorus. And then into our chorus. So the whole verse and pre-chorus played really slow sounds like this. The rhythm underneath the solo is quite a bit easier than the riffs that we've had so far. The rhythm starts with an A power chord in open position, and we hold that for almost 2 measures, going to a G at the very end. And then we're going to go down to F and hold that for almost 2 measures, coming back up to G at the very end. Okay, and that's the first half of the solo. It's a nice short solo. I'll just play that and count it here so that you've got that. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. Okay, now, live, they actually duplicate this movement. They've copied it. And on the album, you can hear this higher power chords take over as well. Because the first half of the solo is Sabo solo, so Scotty Hill is playing these lower chords, and then when it's time for Scotty Hill to do his solo and Sabo comes in, does the same harmonic movement. It's the same progression, but he plays these A, F, and G chords up a little bit higher. So we have this basic same overall movement. Okay, so we start on A. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Moving down to G, just move that a whole step. And then down one more whole step to the 3rd fret of D, F. And then we're gonna hold that for 3 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just a random slide. And then we get into the end of the solo section. So that's the same as what we learned in the pre-chorus going into the chorus. We hit that power chord on the 5th fret of the A, and then the 6th fret, pull up from 6 to 5, down to 6 on the low. But now, instead of hitting the open D and the G, like we did to give us time to get into the chorus riff, we're gonna hit those same notes, but we're gonna hit them by barring the A and the D on the 5th fret. Okay, because that is gonna let us slide them and get a nice stop to that solo section for the breakdown section. Okay, so the rhythm underneath the solo, nice and slow, here we go. Coming out of the solo, there's a breakdown section, and the breakdown section is really just the chorus with an a cappella type feel, but they do introduce one new thing. Halfway through, it would be the 4th measure, what would correspond to that in our typical chorus. They substitute this. Okay, so in that breakdown section, we're gonna put that in there. So it's a B flat power chord, 1st fret of your A string, moving down 1 string set to F, 1st fret of your low string, and then that big G power chord. Okay? And you hold that for pretty much the rest of the breakdown section. Just let that ring out. And then there's a random slide, and we throw that in at the very end to get back into the outro section. So the outro section is again just the chorus. The outro is a double chorus though. So we're gonna play the chorus 2 times exactly how we've learned it. But the only thing that's going to be slightly different is halfway through the 2nd chorus, we're going to again put that B flat, F, G that we just learned in the breakdown section. We're going to put that in instead of, we're going to put in halfway through that 2nd chorus out of the double chorus. And then that's it. You just end the track the same way that we've been ending the choruses. Cut that nice and short, and there's the track. Let's do the solo. Thanks for watching this Skid Row guitar lesson. I hope that you're finding everything you need to learn this awesome track. Remember that all of my song tutorials come with complete tabs to every section, and in most of my videos I even cover how they play it live if there's quite a big difference from how it was recorded on the album. So if that sounds good to you, remember to like and subscribe so that you can learn all of your favorite tracks fast and accurately. Let's get back to it. The solo starts with some whammy bar work, and the idea is to hit a pinch harmonic on the open G string. And you might have to experiment along that string a bit just to find that exact pitch that's on the album. Okay, but that exact pitch is there somewhere. You can find it. It is along that G string. But the idea is to hit that pinch harmonic and then raise the bar and dip it a little bit. So it's like, okay, so we actually are raising the bar up, tightening those strings even more, and then dipping it, okay? And you'll notice that I also have the bridge pickup selected when I start this solo. That just makes these pinch harmonics easier to pop out. So it makes that first harmonic with the dive bomb easier. And also this next one makes that one easier to pop out as well. So what we want to do is the 20th fret on the B string, we hit that and we have to bend, release, and bend really fast. So we have to do you want to do it really fast, where you bend, release, and then bend back up slow. And then make sure that you get that right on beat 3. It's like 1, 2, 3, and then get a nice pinch harmonic right there on beat 3. And then we get into this next phrase. So what I do is I slide into the 15th fret on the B string, and I pick that twice. So I start with an upstroke, and I hammer pull from 16 to 15. And then repeat the 15th fret. And then we come down to the G string, 17, 15, 14. And then come down to 15 on the D string, 17 on A, back up to 15 on D, and end with a pinch harmonic on the 14th of G. Okay? And then that's where I grab my pickup selector and flip it up to the neck position and get a warmer, smoother tone for the rest of the solo. And the next phrase. Okay, so I again slide into the 15th fret, and it sounds to me like there's a little double pick there on the album too. So I do a quick up down, and then we get into this really cool classical pedal point sort of lick. So we double pick that 15th fret on the high string, and then 17, down to 13, back to 17, 12, 17. Okay, then we're gonna switch down to the B string at that point where we hit 15, 17, 13, 17. Then we go 12, 13, 12, hammer pull, and end with on the 14th fret of the G string. So that lick looks like this. And then we slide in to the 17th fret on the B string. And now this is where everybody gets it wrong. It's not strictly a pedal point lick using that E as a pedal. The two set of notes, everybody goes like this, where they're coming back to that E. The very first two notes is actually both on the 15th fret. He goes 15 on the high, 15 on B. So slide into the 17th fret, and then the two 15ths. Now we slide our finger up and do two 17s. Okay? And then we start using that E as our pedal, going up to 19, back to 17, then 20, back to 17. And then you want to bend that 20th fret and release it. And that's the first half of the solo, and that was Snake Sabo's half. And then we get into Scotty Hill's. But nice and slow, here is Snake Sabo's half again. And now we get into Scotty Hill's half of the solo. And he starts by bending the 4th fret on the G string up a half a step. Okay, and you can get lots of pinch harmonics in there too. You can start with a pinch harmonic and get a couple more in there too. But we want to bend that 4th fret up a half step. And now we're going to hit it again, release, pull off to 2, and then back to that 4th fret. Okay? And then we get into the next little bit here, and we're in A minor, so this is all based in the A minor, actually the blues scale. Okay, he uses the blues scale to finish this off. So we slide into the 7th fret on the D string, and I double pick that twice. And then I start, it's kind of a pedal point lick again that really goes nicely with what Sabo did in the first half. So we double pick that 7th fret on the D string, then up to 5 on G, back to that 7th fret on D, roll your finger to 7 on G, back to the D string 7th, and then 5, 7 on G, and now we've got to bend, release that 7th fret, pull off to 5, and then hit that 7th fret again on G. Now back to 5 on G, bend 8 on B, and now we get into that blues scale run. So that's run, we're gonna start on the 5th fret of the high string. And I find it easier if I start with an upstroke, but we're gonna hit that. And then 8, 7, 5 on the B string. I guess I told a lie. It's actually the Dorian scale with the inclusion of the blues note, just for those of you who are up on your theory and were going to call me on it. It is actually the Dorian scale that he's using because we have the 6th in there. So we have the 5th fret on the high, and then 8, 7, 5 on the B string, then go down to 8, 7 on the G, back up to 5 on the B string, and then 8, 7, 5 on the G string, and then down to 7 on D. We have to do that finger roll that we had a second ago where we're going to roll and get the 7th fret on G. And now we want to take the 5th fret on G and do a quick half step bend with it and release. And now we slide down so that we can get into our last lick. Okay, so that little Dorian blue scale run looks like this, nice and slow. Okay, now we're down in 3rd position where we can bend that 5th fret on the G string up a whole step. Okay, now before I go any further, there is some bar work that we're going to have to deal with here. But let's just get the timing and the notes that we're doing without the bar in there first of all, and then we'll add it in. So what our last measure of the solo is 1 and 2E and 3E and 4E. And then we're going to end it with another pinch harmonic on that open G string. But let's just get these notes down. So we're going to bend the 5th fret on G up a whole step, release it, pull off to 3, come down to the D string, pull off 5 to 3. Now slide down to the 3rd fret on the A string and pull off to the 1st fret. Okay, so far we've got this. Now we grab the 3rd fret on A again, and we just want to do a little half step bend and release it, pull off to 1, and then come down to the low string, pull off 3 to 1. Okay? So those are the notes. That's what he's playing in that last measure. And now let's figure out where he uses the bar, because that's going to be perhaps the toughest part to get in there. Because for the most part, you might already be familiar with runs like this. It's very pentatonic-y. So getting the bar in there might be the challenge. So what we want to do is do this, do the bend release off to 3 on the G string. Now we want to dip the bar when we hit that 5th fret on the D string. And dip it again as we slide down to the 3rd fret on A. And one more time as we hit that 3rd fret, coming back for that half step bend. Okay, so that measure nice and slow is going to look like this. And then what we want to do is do another pinch harmonic on that open G string. And again, you might have to experiment around to get that right pitch. But just pinch that open G and dive the bomb and go really deep all the way so the strings are slack. Because after that dive bomb on the album, you can hear a little bit of rumbling for a couple of beats. And then that's the end of the solo. So let's play through Scotty Hill's half of the solo nice and slow. Thanks once again for watching this video, guys. You now know how to play Youth Gone Wild by Skid Row on the guitar. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to learn all your favorite tracks with tab, and I'll see you next time.